guys! So our content for this video is recipe costing. Are you guys ready? Let's start! So before we proceed, do you have any knowledge or ideas? Or are you guys familiar with it? If not, I okay! Charot. So if not, this topic is perfect for you. So, what is recipe costing? Recipe costing is the act of breaking down amino item into its individual ingredients and determining those ingredients' cost. When totaled, those ingredient costs make up the total food of an item. And when compared to that item's sale price, it provides the greatest measure of profitability out there. So food cost percentage. Those percentages indicate what amount of item selling price it costs the bar or restaurant to make the item. So the lower those percentages, the more profitable a menu item becomes. So, how important is recipe costing or food costing? Food costing is important to understand because it has a direct impact on a restaurant's profitability. It is the cost of your ingredients and excludes any other costs such as labor or overhead. Food costing is an essential tool in determining whether food cost targets are being met. So how can we make recipe costing? First, we have to create a costing chart that consists of the ingredient name, the cost of quantity purchased, the quantity purchased, the quantity needed in the recipe, the quantity unit cost, and the cost of ingredient used in the recipe. Second, we have to list down the ingredient's name. And, by the way, the recipe for this content is lumpia. Third, let's find out the cost of each ingredient, and this might be based on looking at the receipt. Fourth, after finding out the cost, let's put it down under the cost of quantity purchased, the quantity purchased, as well as the quantity needed in the recipe. After listing down the cost and the quantity needed in the recipe, let's proceed to quantity unit cost. So how can we get the quantity unit cost? So in order to get that, we have to divide the cost of quantity purchased and the quantity purchased. So for example, the first ingredient of lumpia is carrot. So the cost of quantity purchased of carrot is 25 pesos. And the quantity purchased is 250 grams. So in order to get the quantity unit cost, so let's divide 25. So 25 divided by 250 gram is 0.1. So, how can we get the cost of ingredient used in the recipe? So in order to get the cost of ingredient used in the recipe, we have to multiply the quantity needed in the recipe and the quantity unit cost. So, the quantity needed in the recipe is 225 grams. And the quantity unit cost is 0.1. So 225 grams multiplied by 0.1 is equals to 22.5. So 22.5 is the cost of ingredient used in the recipe of carrot. So did you guys get it? Oh, by the way, the profit margin that we consider is 30%. So let us proceed to the second ingredient, which is garlic, so that everyone can fully understand step by step of the process of recipe costing. Okay? So the cost of quantity purchase of garlic is 5 pesos. And the quantity purchased is 6 teaspoons. But the quantity needed in a recipe is only 5 teaspoons. And we have to calculate now the quantity unit cost, and the cost of ingredient used in the recipe.
Wow!
So in order to get the quantity unit cost of garlic, let's divide 5 pesos and 6 teaspoons. So 5 divided by 6 is 0.83, and that's the quantity unit cost of garlic. And now let us calculate the cost of ingredient used in the recipe of garlic. So let's multiply quantity needed in the recipe, which is 5 teaspoons, and the quantity unit cost, which is 0.83. So 5 multiplied by 0.83 is equals to 4.17, and that's the cost of ingredient used in the recipe of garlic, which is 4.17. So after calculating all the ingredients, we have to get the total now of the cost of ingredient used in the recipe. So all in all, we have the total is 196.095, and that's the cost of ingredient used in the recipe. And now let us proceed on getting the 30% profit margin in the recipe. So the total cost is 196.095. And let us get the 30% profit. So 30% of the total cost, 196.095, is 58.83. I just multiplied it, which is 196.095 multiplied by 0.30 is equals to 58.83. And now let us get the selling price of our recipe. So in order to get the selling price, profit margin plus total cost divided by recipe yield. So let's add first the profit margin and the total cost. So the profit margin is 58.83 plus the total cost, which is 196.095. So 58.83 plus 196.095 is equals to 254.925. So in order to get the selling price, we have to divide the total cost and the recipe yield. So the total cost, which is 254.925 divided by 50 is equals to 5.0985. Therefore, the selling price of our recipe, which is lumpia, is 5 pesos. And that's all for this video. Hope you guys understand and learned from our discussion. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. See you next time.